Hello. As you can see by the length of this video, I'm going to explain compression in 5 minutes. So I'm not going to waste any more time, let's get going. I have this little piano loop here. And we're going to be using that to demonstrate compression. So compression can be a little confusing if you're new to production, but I'm going to explain it as simply as possible. So in short, what compression does is it affects the volume of the signal depending on how loud it is. So if I just turn this level down, every part of that sample gets quieter, regardless of how loud it was to begin with. The loud parts get quieter and the quiet parts also get quieter. But what we're going to do with this compressor is we're going to only make the loud parts quieter and leave the quiet parts as they were before. We do that with our threshold. So anything above this threshold is going to be what's affected, and anything below it is going to remain unaffected. So let's say I pick minus 15 decibels as our threshold. Anything louder than minus 15 decibels will be turned down. Now, how much will it be turned down by? That is going to be our ratio control. So let's say I pick a 2-to-1 ratio. It's pretty much what it sounds like. So let's say this goes 10 decibels over our threshold. Now it will only go 5 because it's a 2-to-1 ratio. If I say 3-to-1, now it'll only go 3.333 decibels. If I pick 10-to-1, now it'll only go 1 decibel over. And some compressors will go all the way to infinity to 1, which is just a limiter. So if you've ever heard the term limiter and you're unaware of what that does, it just is a brick wall limiter, so nothing can go over the desired threshold. So let's pick 5-to-1, shall we? And I'll turn this down a little more. Now this kind of sounds weird, but I'm not really trying to make anything musical right now. I'm just showing how compression works. So what you'll notice is that anytime the piano initially hit, it got quieter for a second, and then it got louder again once it dropped back below that threshold. Now this effect's a bit extreme, so I'm going to turn that threshold up. The next two parameters that we really need to worry about are attack and release. So our attack is how long the compressor takes to take effect after a signal comes in. So if I say 15, or we'll say 20 milliseconds, then once the signal crosses the threshold, it'll take 20 milliseconds for the compressor to be fully enabled. Now this doesn't mean that it immediately switches on at 20 milliseconds. It will start enabling and ramp up, and it will be fully enabled at 20 milliseconds. And the release control is the same thing for the release. So once the signal dips back down under the threshold, how long will it take for the compressor to stop compressing the remaining signal? And if you want to leave transients, it's better to have a higher attack time, because that way the compressor will not compress for the very first transient part of the sound and then start compressing immediately afterwards. Whereas if we want to push these transients down, we probably want a shorter attack time. So you can mess with these parameters as well. It's important to know what those do. We're not really going to worry about the knee for right now, but what it essentially does is it just changes the slope of the ratio control, and you can kind of see what it does visually in Fruity Limiter. That's why I was using this. And then the last parameter is the gain. Now this is pretty self-explanatory. We usually think of compressors as making things louder, but they just reduce dynamic range, which will actually make things quieter. So after we have reduced our dynamic range and compressed it down, we might want to bring it back up with an increase in gain. And that's compression. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe and give me a like. It's very helpful to the channel. And if you want to support me as well, my new full-length album, Completely Implicit, is coming out this Friday, the 29th. So there will be a link down below where you can pre-save it, and that's, again, such a huge help to me if you do that. And let me know what you'd like me to talk about next down in the comments. Thank you, and have a good day.